Computer. Lights. Good morning, everybody. And how are you this morning? It's Zombie TGIF, because that's what ZTGIF is. I don't know. I'm making this stuff up. It works. It works. I'm just, here. That's what I'm doing. I'm just doing my thing. Doing my thing. So, all right. We've got a couple of things that I should probably give you a heads up about. One of them is that the folks who are working on the power are going to be here in just a few minutes, because I have only told them 3 or 4 times that I am not available from 9 to 11. And so they're always here at 9. So anyway, it's all good. He just needs me to let him into the basement, and he'll start working on the power lines that will feed my electric car at some point in time, which is the entire point. Good morning, Brent. It's good to see you this lovely ZTGIF. So we've got a couple of other, once I put the new Kitty Wake layout underneath the deck plans, not only did I notice I had a couple of things in the wrong spot, but I also noticed that we had a couple of misaligned Jeffries tubes and stuff. So we're going to Jeffries tube today. It looks like a thing we're going to be doing, because it looks like we've got to go out and about and around and stuff. So it's going to be fun. We're going to be tubing today. Just not the kind in a river. At some point, the electrician will ring my ring, and, he said, I was like, I'll be broadcasting. He was like, well, you don't need me we won't be loud. And I'm like, I don't think it's loud. I've got a problem with it. Oh, well. Let's switch over to the monitor and let's see what we got going on for us. All right. We're pretty much in the exact same spot we were at yesterday, because I actually didn't have time after the show was over to continue working on things. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to look at this. We've got a maser port that lives right here, right? This is a maser port, and there are 3 masers on it. So we also have a sensor array here, which I don't, sensor arrays should look kind of interesting, right? Interestingly shaped. Like they don't fit exactly in the spot. Because what would really happen is you crawl along over here, you work on the sensor array, and then you find out that it's dead or whatever. So we get back to base, and they unbolt it here and here, and they pull the entire array out, by pulling this door off right at the seam, probably. They'll have a couple of long sensor arrays that probably look more like blades, I would think. Something like this. Right? It's kind of longish. Probably could crawl between them. They do a thing. We don't know what the thing is. They just do it, right? That's a long array in here. This gives us something that we're working our Jeffreys tubes toward. And there's obviously an access door right here. So I'm going to put a couple of circular things in here. That are probably, alarms, alerts, something. I don't know. Widgets. Canisters, containers, probably full of a gas of some sort, because that's usually what spheres form. And then I will make that, find out with that. And we will erase this hallway that was started. Bing. For those of you who are wondering, it is indeed supposed to be artist check-in, but everybody's really, really busy. Pepper is moving into his new house, which is cool. And he's organizing for that, which does not surprise me in the least. And Colton's probably still asleep, because that's a normal Colton thing to do. And Colton stays up really, really late. So as much as I am sitting here chuckling, going, Colton's an idiot. He's really not. He's up really late doing stuff all night long. So, I mean, I will still mock him incessantly, naturally. But legitimately, he's doing stuff. So there's that. Okay. And then here is starboard side gravity projection plate. The big monster is connected to the gravity projection equipment there. Brent is at work. Question really is, do we have access to the gravity projection plate? I mean, do we even need access to the gravity projection plate? That just seems like a big piece of black box that probably doesn't need to be messed with. However, I will give it a room. Get a room. There. Brent is at work. There we go. And then we will. I really appreciate you keeping me company from work, Brent. I mean, you and I are both at work technically, but you keep me at work because without you, I would sit there and say, well, I don't really need to go to work today. I just want you to know that I appreciate you. There we go. A thing. It's a widget. I haven't actually seen the Matrix 4 trailer because I'm not sure. I'm like most of us. I absolutely adore Matrix 1. I'm not sure about 2 and 3. So, I mean, it's like, no. During Star Trek Day, Will Wheaton was wearing these pins, and I loved all of them. One of them was the Vulcan salute in rainbow colors, and I bought that one, except my version now has glitter because I like glitter and I like things that sparkle. So that's a thing. So I got the sparkly one. Shouldn't surprise anybody, I guess. And then I got another one that is a heart, and inside it, I appreciate that. And I have been in jobs where I totally can understand that. There we go. All the primary connectors to the gravity plate, projection plates. Because don't screw that up. I mean, like, that's a whole lot of don't screw that up. Whole mess of don't screw that up right there. Colton says he's not sleeping. He's writing a paper. It's all good. What's so funny is I posted and said, hey, guys, it's time for our Friday get together. I said, if you want to join me, you can. I said, but I know that everybody's busy, so it's totally cool. If you don't need to give, excuses as to why we're not here. And everybody's giving excuses as to why they're not here. It's very funny. Cracks me up. Okay, so we got gravity projection plate starboard, the maser port starboard, and this connection grid stuff, which I'm actually going to continue using, but not yet. I'm going to do this first. I copy all of this. Then we're going to flip it horizontal. And put this guy right here. There we go. Now we have the starboard side, or port side. Now I want these cables, because we're going to do the other side of this connector. It's going to be right here. Door. Right. Line it up. There we go. Really? Really? So these cables, you can see them going under the deck there and into the gravity projection room. And these two should be the same sort of critter. Now let's make sure we can do this from this side as well. And make sure that copy, paste, deselect. If you're wondering what I'm hitting there, it's Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and Control D for deselect. You know what makes me not sane? Is when the port side and the starboard side of a spacecraft don't line up. I'm just saying. Okay, so you will move up until you line up. I don't usually use Control Z when copying and pasting. It's counterintuitive, you see. You copy, you paste, you deselect, and you undo. It's sort of a whale. That's what you meant to do. It's kind of like whale. All right, on this layer, we need to be able to get into this access port. I'm going to clear the rest of this right here, just so it's not in the way. And that puts this suit locker a little too far forward. Undo. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like it's a. So first we copy, then we paste, then we deselect, then we undo. Not the best idea. Okay. The only problem I've got here is getting to these guys, getting access to these guys is going to have to be back here because there's no way to get under the gravity projection plate, and you don't want to be messing with the gravity projection plate. Alrighty. Let's get in here. And I'm just going to trim this down a little. All right. This room, the forward gravity projection room. Hi. Can you not do that stupid? Okay. I'm going to just do half the room and then duplicate it. Yep, right? Don't screw with the gravity projection plates. No, I don't like that. Just leave it open. People will know. All of this goes to the gravity power projection plant in the middle here. This would be the equivalent of a starship's warp core right here. So the power projection lines mix in this center chamber. Where they are way too big. This center chamber, they intermix right here. There has to be enough room on all of this to walk around it. Like, you've got to be able to walk over here, walk around the front of this thing, and not, trip up a power plug or something. So we're actually going to kind of pull this back to this angle because I'm not able to get around OSHA and all, We have OSHA standards that we have to deal with here. There we go. Give it a little bit of a drop shadow so you know that it drops down. Makes me feel better. Okay. There will probably be a railing right here so that you don't fall into the power conduits. That could be remarkably fatal. Power generation core. This is the primary widget for running the ship. More power. I feel like the fusion reactors are out on the pontoons. So these conduits that transmit here, they're transmitting through this wall. So we'll go ahead and put them through the wall. And thinking logically about how these ships work. Right. So these guys then come out of the gravity core. There we go. And then into the engineering primary control room, which would be here. And the question really is, should this just be one big, huge engine room, like forward engine room sort of thing? If so, I mean, all of the conduits would go into the floor of C deck. Right? They go into the floor pieces here and then head out to the pontoons at the wings. Losing a wing would suck if you're a Corvette. Although you have 2 power plants, so you can switch to an APU on the... and I would assume, if I were to build the engines on this thing, I would build it to build both engines to create twice as much power than they need. So they're always running at 50%. So then that way, if you lose a wing, you can back out of the fight, turn the other engine up to full power, and have it run 100% and still power the ship. And maybe for like the sake of just doing, I don't know, something. But either way, transferring power to... Yeah, that's what I would do. I would have it do that. These are all Jeffries tubes. They're all very narrow or very short. The height isn't very high. So, the question is, should I put a door through there? I think the answer is probably yes. So here's the biggest problem I have, though. These doors need to pocket somewhere, and they're going to pocket this way and pocket this way because they don't actually fit pocketing into here or there. And I don't want these doors need to be huge sealing doors because they need to seal to the fore and seal to the aft. So, yeah. We can fix a couple of things, though. So there are APUs on board. But we're definitely looking at the largest pieces of equipment on the ship. Those gravity projection plates are the biggest pieces of equipment, save the engines, because they are engines effectively. So, okay. We're going to take these guys, and we're going to do the curve thing on the back. Word, work. Word, work. Work. These power lines will just be severed if you need to separate the hammerhead. Entirely an option. Separate the hammerhead, and when you do, it separates these cores right here. We'll just build a plate with these cores on. It goes down into the floor of SeaDeck. I guess it'll be kind of cool if we ever have like a battle and you see a Corvette and she has to eject the front part, and all you see is the center section there, but you could see the 3 power lines still sparking as, you know, and they lose the power lines to the gravity control system. And Pepper joins me. Pepper joins me. Look, it's Pepper. I didn't expect Pepper.
Well,
no one expects Pepper. You're like
no
the
one
Spanish
expects
Inquisition.
me. Ever. No one expects me.
Nobody expects Pepper. It's like the Spanish Inquisition.
I'm the spice that never gives up.
Right?
Yeah.
I was too busy drawing, so I didn't look up here until you posted something in the private chat, which brought the flag up right in the middle. And so I'm glad you did that, because I was like, because I was down here kind of looking at my monitor and drawing. I have a lot of detail in my ship.
Well, just saying, that's all you.
Yeah, it's all good. It's the stuff that, I mean, like, it's interesting how artists are. All of us are different as to what we think is most important, you know, which is why all artwork is cool, because, like, you don't know. I was just saying that the electrician is showing up to build the wires that go to our garage.
Oh, okay.
So he may or may not message me at any point here, and then you can hold the show for a minute or two while he does that.
Okay.
So,
technically, I should probably move over something I need to work on so that I can do that, but I can't share it.
That's all right. You didn't learn to share in kindergarten. I get it. We don't hold it against you. We were going to hold it against you, but then we didn't.
It's not shareable due to the fact that I have an NDA, so I can be.
I get it. You just didn't share when you were a kid. I get it.
Are you kidding? I'm born third. Of course I shared. I had to share. If I wanted,
there was nobody else there. They all just like yelled at me. I didn't share.
I have 2 older sisters. They wouldn't allow me to not have my own things.
Right. Oh, man.
And to answer Brent's question, The move is slow. We are going back up to remove some more popcorn ceiling.
No one's helping us.
No one in Colorado that we know of has agreed to come up and get free food and beer.
It's Loveland. It is far away.
It is, and I understand a lot of
considered it,
people just
and then I
don't
was
want
like-
to drive.
I had totally considered it.
Bill, it's not about that, all right? It's about if people are able, and if no one's able, then we gotta do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and honestly, that's true. I probably should not put my arms above my head for long periods of time. I just got the chiropractor to pop everything back into place. It would really suck if we popped it all back out of place right out of that.
well, technically, we need one person to go around and spray the sprayer on the
that might not
popcorn
be bad.
itself.
You got to keep that chiropractor employed.
Yeah, and Bill said that, excuse me, we have to keep the chiropractor employed.
Right? Crack pop, crack pop. Boy, she did that too. It was like she just took my neck and went, and I was like, oh, I've seen this on TV. I will be dead now. But no, I didn't die. I was amazed. It was amazing. I was
Isn't
sure
it-
I was going to die.
It's always fun when the chiropractor like pops something.
Yep. She
You
tried to
don't-
pop my back, but my back was being stubborn. So
Oh,
I get to go back.
that means that you need to. Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Brent. It's just it's a lot. It's like I we hired someone to help us out. A friend of mine to help us out with certain stuff and around the house, and they had to come up from Colorado Springs, and they were like, "We're gonna have to make a day of it because it's like a 2-hour drive."
A
From the
2-hour
Springs.
drive. A 2-hour drive.
I mean, Raph posted that he's back into quarantine, and I was just like, well, you don't have to be around us. We can just put you in a room, and you can do that by yourself, right?
Raph's like, wait a minute, why would I do that?
My husband said that he's required the ashless chaps, so I don't know what's going on there.
I was going to say, what does that mean?
It's all on Facebook.
Gotcha.
It's all on the faces of the books.
The book faces.
I'm gonna go get what I need to work on because it's a rather large piece and I need to have it done today.
Yep. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing too. So, anyway, we get Bill and we get Pepper finally,
Well, you could have had Bill a long time ago. If Bill wanted to be on the show.
Brent says bad mental image. Thanks, Bill.
For your viewing pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
the assless chaps.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, that's my freak fly fly. It's a leather party, baby.
Okay. Oh boy.
Sure you want me on this show with Bill?
Right, I'm starting to wonder here.
There's a reason why they call me Pepper. I bring the spice.
Right. So I had NDK all last week, which was just took up my life, as you might imagine.
No.
So haven't been able to do much, and I'm still kind of in that I don't know exactly what I want to get started doing starting now that I'm back here. So I just spent this week doing things that need to be done, like things that I have been putting off and putting off and putting off. I like to build deck plans. They're fun. But I also build deck plans so that I can build the sets so that everything's logical in the comic book. If they if you have two characters who are walking down a hallway talking, it looks more nominal to me if the two characters are walking, and as they walk from the pilot house back to wherever, you can trace their steps through the ship and realize that they really should be in this hallway, which would say gravity control on either side or whatever. And then that way it all stabilizes for me.
Yeah.
I am making pages, Brent. It's just that the pages have lots of boobies. And so I'm getting uncomfortable and worried that Facebook's going to block it. So I'm just going to make the pages.
Well,
and then...
Okay, so the workaround for Instagram, not Facebook, this is just Instagram, when you have a picture of boobies, or pretty much any nudity whatsoever, is you can place it on there, non-digital, and you take a picture of it. So if you have a printout of it, and you've done like watercolors over it, then Instagram has no problem with you displaying your artwork. But if it's digital, and it was done digitally, they have an issue with that. If you try
that
to post
sounds remarkably confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also at the same time, like, that's on how I've gotten away with posting booby pictures.
Booby pictures.
And they reposted to Facebook. Facebook never put them down, so...
Well, I think that nobody puts anything down unless somebody complains. There's just not enough people out there, and the AIs aren't quite bright enough to realize what boobies are.
Well, I mean, if you're drawing a warrior in a very, like, if you're drawing a warrior and she's topless, there's a point to having the toplessness.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that all of the freak out over nudity is stupid. So, it doesn't really matter. I think all of this is dumb. I've got better things to do with my life. So, it's a thing. But yeah, that's definitely been one of the reasons why I'm trying to draw all of the pages not on that. And I'm just going to release them to the patrons because the people who seem to be interested are patrons, at least $1. So that's just basically anybody who's $1 or up a patron. And that way nobody can find it.
Yeah.
It's Brent and all of those guys and stuff. And I'm making the dotted line to indicate the overhead window on a pilot house.
Woohoo!
So Brent's got a goal for next week to clear out all the work as he starts a new job on the 20th.
Oh, that's sweet. Cool. Congrats.
Yeah, no kidding. Yep. You can get a signed copy of all of it. That's definitely a thing. I was actually talking last night to a buddy because I was over watching Lower Decks, and she and I were talking about the concept of releasing all of these vignettes as like a compiled thing. I'm making vignettes because it gets me practicing drawing pages. It also gives color to the world and stuff like that. But I've already seen in my head the first scene of the first comic. and moved through it. The biggest problem is that the first comic has too many things going on right now at the same time. So I really think that the plot of the first comic needs to just be finding Alex, and then leave it like that, instead of trying to come up with a B plot where they've got some other reason to solve some other problem so that they can solve it. The whole thing should just be dealing with Alex. And I think that'd be fine, because that starts the story. It establishes our POV character.
Yeah.
It's all good. That's what I think.
You're just saying?
Mm-hmm. I often just say. I do that a lot. So, anyway.
So, obviously, we have the move going on, so that's what's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
I initially went away to celebrate my grandfather's life in Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Came back. I was supposed to go and man a booth at NDK to help out Earth Tau. I had to end up backing out because that whole weekend basically was absorbed by taking down the ceiling.
You're right.
And then on top of that, like, we thought, oh, well, I could probably just meet the adoption person and then it will take about an hour and then we'll go back to, then it can be dropped off at NDK. No. The adoption caseworker that we have stayed at the house. They arrived in the morning and we didn't get through with that whole entire meeting until like the middle of NDK on the first day.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We also had to order appliances. So that was even more fun. I got adult toys. And not the X-rated ones.
I don't even know what that means. No, I don't want to know.
Guy, your face was like kind of like, wait, I don't think I'm thinking about this correctly.
Yeah, I was just Rule 34ing it right there. So there's that. Yay! He says he'll be at NDK next year. He promises.
I will try to promise that too.
We did really good. This year was really good for NDK.
Well, I mean, everyone should go to NDK.
I mean, though I'm not going to say you're wrong. That was kind of interesting. Okay. Everyone should go to NDK.
Yeah. Everyone should.
It was a good convention. We did good. I'm actually pretty pleased. Okay, I'm looking at this room and thinking there's no reason for this bump. Right here. In the hallway. The hallway goes bump. And doesn't really need to. There's like no reason for it. I'm like,
I feel like you're describing a children's book now.
Right?
Everything needs a
bump.
The
hallway goes bump in the night.
Everything has a bump. The hallway goes a bump in the night.
Everything goes bump and the hallway goes bump in the night are two totally different stories.
One could be taken very literally.
Right? Like, why does mom have bumps? Dirty. Okay, see, now that's a different story.
It's kind of like what was it, the joke that someone basically said to me. Um, it was like, and I think someone posted on Instagram or Facebook, something like that too, where this small child is in kindergarten and he brings his cat to school, and um, the teacher goes, "Why do you have your cat?" And he goes, "Because when I before I left home, Dad looked at Mom and said he was gonna eat the pussy." And I'm like, I can picture a small version of myself saying this if we had a cat.
You're just saying.
Just saying.
Yes, parking was unpleasant, but only on Saturday. And really, honestly, compared to when we were downtown and people were literally parking like 2 miles away, it's still better. So it's one of those listed under, it's still better. Not perfect, but still better. So we'll get there.
I was making an adult joke, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I was like, well, we'll just let him go on ahead and make his adult joke.
I don't make them often. I get told them a lot.
Okay.
I get told them a lot.
Everybody likes telling you adult jokes. Weird. Wait, you're the transporter clone? Boo.
That's one thing about Star Trek I always wondered. Because everyone's DNA profile's on file for the transporter arrays.
Mm-hmm.
If one of them dies, wouldn't it just be easy to replace them? Based off their last transporter DNA?
They actually addressed that a number of times.
But it still puzzles me why they don't do it.
Because
If I recall,
the
Message is for Bill!
yes.
if I recall correctly, the energy pattern that they keep in the transporter system is so complex that it degrades quite rapidly. So they can't like keep a backup of it.
Yep. It has a lot to do with the Heisenberg compensator, which compensates for the Heisenbergs. Well, and in actuality, that really is the geeky thing that they have a problem with, and that is that you can only identify the location or the speed of things. You can't have both. And so it has to compensate for that. And what happens is you end up with the inability to clone it because only one pattern can exist.
Although, in fairness, Scotty figured out a way to stay inside the buffer system for a
long time. He did in relics.
Yep. So if they could figure that out, then yeah, Starship should just have a copy of everyone on standby. So when they get vented out into space, they're like, just make it, create the backup quickly.
Right? And it did happen to Boimler. So there's that.
Yeah.
Always, leave it to lower decks to really mess with it.
How's the new season going? I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's just as hilarious as the old season.
Nice.
It is really good. They're doing a good job
Nice.
of being ridiculous. It is so funny. But yeah, that's actually something they address in lower decks there. And that's actually what I was quoting. Boimler. So yeah, it's cool. I've been enjoying it quite a bit, but I guess that's kind of par for the course.
Yeah. I think that would be a comical moment if they did do that, because there would be somebody that like the next time they pop out, it's like, okay, this is the 25th time we created. Can you stay alive for at least 5 minutes this time?
Right.
Well,
you see them walk outside the transporter room and get shot right away. And the transporter guy's just like, ah.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like the reason why I was thinking is like if you think about it, right? You
There's a lot
have
of things
the
you shouldn't
red
think
shirt
about with too
jokes.
much in Star Trek.
You have the red shirt jokes. You have the gold shirt jokes from Next Generation,
Mm-hmm.
and you always see people dying, like in throughout the show, and like in the original Star Trek. Um, I remember that there was like this one scene where it was a female red shirt that dies, and because she died, like Kirk was actually really broken up about it. Like he did not want that to happen, but
Right.
like, the two ensigns were turned into cubes, and one was crushed, and one wasn't.
Yep. For those of you who were wondering, that's By Any Other Name. It was a second season episode. I mean, I guess I shouldn't. Well,
I don't know the episode names. I'm not that far deep into it. That's my
I
husband.
am.
Why?
That's why I'm broken, and we accept this.
You're not broken. You're not broken, guy.
By Any Other Name, where the Kelvins were trying to take the Enterprise back to the Andromedan Galaxy. Actually, I'm sorry, it's third season.
Although that would have brought in that galaxy a lot faster.
I
Yep.
would love to see a Star Trek series which is about exploring another galaxy instead of just keep quibbling about in our own.
I feel like it would get to a point where it'd be kind of like disassociated. Like you wouldn't, because part of it is being able to go back to Earth every so often and, get tea in Paris and stuff like that. And,
But
hang out
they accomplished it
London
well in
Bridge or
Stargate.
whatever.
Yeah. In Stargate, they kind of accomplished it rather well.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that could work. But I think that's probably the logic behind why they don't do it is because, well, then nobody would ever be able to understand what was going on or,
I feel like it would be a good way to kind of give us the frontier days of Star Trek, where if they went to another galaxy and had to have like an outpost, kind of like a Deep Space Nine situation, where maybe they're set up on the other side of a wormhole that is in between two galaxies, and you just see people filtering in and out from our own, and then meeting new ones from this new galaxy, kind of like they started to do with Deep Space Nine. But don't do a whole war thing. Like it doesn't need to be a war thing.
The war thing was cool and very different. But we don't need to do it again, I don't think. Yeah. I agree with you.
Or they can try to pull from Voyager's experience, where they were literally launched into another galaxy altogether and trying to get back.
Well, no, they were in the same galaxy. They were just the Delta Quadrant. So, but I like the idea of Deep Space Nine Light series in that it's kind of a slowdown. It's a chance to get to know the background of the series, the characters in it, the cultures and the peoples and all this stuff.
Right.
So like it was slow enough we got to really explore like
the Ferengi,
the Trill or the Ferengi, and get to explore and understand them. Like you can't do that when you're always on the go and always trying to do another adventure. So I would appreciate another series where we kind of just, we're the end of a galaxy and we're an outpost and we're just going to kind of sit here and see what comes through.
Right? Yeah, actually, I don't disagree. That seems like that'd be fun too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to stay on culturally on topic, maybe the great threat, because there always has to be some great threat, isn't war. Maybe it's some kind of weird, like, sentient disease or something, which ties in with our cultural dealing with the pandemic and how we're dealing with it and the different stuff, and that could be a central theme to it,
Yeah, no, actually, it's not like that's another thing is, I think, I watched Star Trek Day on Wednesday, and they were doing a lot of talking about the fundamental concepts behind science fiction in general and Star Trek in specific. And one of the things that they had mentioned, my electrician's here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, there's motion at my front door. I'm watching him walk by. He's moving all the cables to the backyard. This is kind of fun, actually.
My grandfather would say it's very voyeuristic.
Yes, but it's fun because, like, totally, I can see what's going on at my front door. It's very cool. And the electricians are getting ready to deal with stuff. I wonder when it gets to the point where he rings the doorbell to alert me, I wonder if I'm going to just see him go, bing. Like, because it's a ring, and I don't know where the camera is. I don't know if the camera is like, so he'd be like, bing, or bing, or if he just goes, bing. No, I'm like,
I've liked the I've liked the things where it's like the small child is like home from school, and to alert the parents, they go up to the ring and like get them to see them, and then have a full on conversation with their parents through the ring.
I actually have done that a number of times. The kiddo comes up to the ring and asks about stuff. But the funniest story, I have a funny story from the convention. So we just got my kid a phone because he walks now by himself from school, right? And it's entertaining because for me, he's walking from the same school I walked from when I was his age and to a house we are equidistant just further south from the junior high. So when I was there, I was about 4 blocks north, but still sort of parallel. So the difference is academic between the distance between where I was when I was his age and where we are, and we're at the same school. So I'm sitting there going, I walked home from that school, so I don't have any problem with him walking home. But my wife's like, no, but what if someone tries to kidnap him? And I said, well, I grew up in the 80s where people really were kidnapping kids a whole lot more than they are today. There was no social media to broadcast it back then. And she's like, well, let's get him a phone. So we got him a phone. Okay, no problem. So now he's got a phone, and he was supposed to call when he got home Tuesday because I was at the convention. It was really the first time he had ever been latchkey. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't call. We kind of knew that was going to happen. He didn't call. And then it was, so I was like, well, I know he's probably home, but we should probably figure it out anyway. So his phone was off. I'm like, damn it. All you're going to do is freak out your mom. So I activated the ring and I was like, are you there, son? Nothing happened. But then I found out I can go through Alexa right here. And so I activated Alexa. And I'm like, are you there? And I hear in the background, Dad, is that you?
I'm glad you're finding this funny. You just probably caused him to have therapy later on in
I
life.
know, right? I'm in. He's gonna end up in therapy for years because of that. Then he was apparently in his room, which is just across the hallway, and he's sitting there, and all of a sudden he hears, "Son, are you there?" Oh man!
Or if he decides to have children one day, he's gonna sit there and like go, "My dad did this. I'm gonna
Right.
do it too."
Which wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, frankly, if he doesn't have therapy because of me, I'm going to be shocked. He comes in here and he's like talking. He's like, "Are you talking to me through the Alexa?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you forgot to turn your phone on." And he's like, "Oh, sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's all right, but I have to get a hold of you to make sure you made it home safe." And then I had him look through stuff over here to take stuff to the convention because I had forgotten stuff. But, there you go. +1 for Smart House. I also had my yard people show up and nobody was here and they needed power. And so I could open the garage door remotely. So I did. Because otherwise I would have had to have given them the code to the front door. And I hate that. I don't want people but the garage door is locked, and so they can just get in. The worst they could ever do is steal a whole bunch of tools.
Yeah, we actually have the new house actually has a code to get into the garage door.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't really activated it yet, like putting in temporary codes and stuff.
Sure.
We need to reset it, that's for sure. But our realtor's like, yeah, you should probably get new locks and all of this other stuff. And I'm just like, that's a lot of work.
It is, but it's worth it. I mean, really, you don't know. I mean, the person who owned the house before you was probably a really cool person and not a real issue. But
I mean, they left us a dining table with 6 chairs and 2 leaves in it. So I'm going to say that's pretty cool. Plus
that's
2
gaming table. That's already a gaming table.
Yeah, and they also left us 2 lazy boys.
Oh, hey, that's nice.
Yeah, they swivel and rock, and they go back.
Also cool.
So.
Also cool. They're downstairs drilling on something. I can hear it. That's kind of interesting. I hear them going.
Well,
I hope that they're not drilling.
Hearing someone scream, that's when it becomes dentistry.
Right? There's a difference between housework and dentistry. One involves screaming. Totally a joke here somewhere. No. Let's put the door back here. There we go. Port and starboard doors to engineering. I don't think there's anything I can do about this back room. They're going to have to walk out the door, go into the other room, and come back in this door. To this access port. Because otherwise I can't pocket door the emergency.
I got every other word, but I heard bulkheads, so I'm thinking that you're talking about the ship.
Uh-oh. I'm losing my stream again, aren't I? Yep. Huh.
Don't cross the streams!
I'm going to save this because I don't know what's going on here. This is wild and
There you go. That's a Star Trek thing for you.
wow.
A Star Trek series exploring a new planet in the star system where they just realized that they can join the Federation because they have a warp drive. But all of their technology is based off of prehistoric, what we would consider
Hang on real quick.
prehistoric. Huh?
I'm going to go downstairs real quick because the electrician's here.
Uh-huh.
So I'll be right back.
Okay. I'm going to finish telling everyone about my thing that I would like to see. So, take Flintstones and add Star Trek. And boom! Instant success. What do you think, Bill?
Sounds cool, but
Can't pop out from behind the bag. We could focus it on the first flight crew of his prehistoric, or basically stone. What's it called? Stone core or something like that, where it's like Stone Age everything, technology wise. They have an animal that can go in and out of space that goes through their atmosphere at will. That's would be the backbone of their ship. And like Flintstones, like their airplanes are literally pterodactyls with like a stone mount thing on it, right? This thing had like the thing that had to come down and swoop in, and like that they used to go back out of space would probably have to be massive, you know. And they spawn in space, so you know, eco-friendly right there. Just just saying. I'm rambling a little. Not sure what else to talk about, but this idea is really getting like brain gears going. Sorry for the inappropriate remarks. I wish I could show you what I'm looking at. If it's fun. You okay over there, Bill?
Yep.
What you doing? Stapling?
Pay the bill, staple this.
Ah, okay. I need to do that later.
George is terrified. Dub is terrified. All is good.
Alrighty.
And it looks like we're back to normal. Okay, so.
Sorry, I couldn't keep it going. No one was talking back.
It's
I
all
didn't
good.
know what to do. I just shut down.
right? Hey, Brent, I got something for you. Tell me what's going on here. There we go. I'm going to full size me and stick Pepper on top of me. Pepper, you're just so mean. Yeah, I can move
You
you.
could always mute me.
Nah, that'd be muting me. Oh, come on. That was funny. Okay. A minute ago, I started talking like a robot. And this is what my internet showed. There was literally a drop off here. What should I blame, Brent? What should I do?
Hey, Bill, can you answer this?
What's happening?
He had a drop off.
Yeah, I turned into a robot and I screen capped it, and you can see it spikes here and then just drops right off the planet for broadcast. But receiving looks the same.
Oh, that's your internet traffic.
That's my what?
That's your internet traffic. That's your network.
Well, yeah. My outbound traffic dropped off the planet here. So my question is, what does that mean? Do I need a new internet card? Do I need?
Well, that's from your system's perspective. So whatever was going on your system, and you said that's the outbound.
Yeah, that's out. The dotted line is outbound. The solid line with the whatever is inbound.
So your system reduced the rate at which it was sending data from anything on your system. So that could be your broadcast stuff. That could be anything. That could be Windows doing some kind of task. Any other applications you might have. So it's hard to say. You need like something to track the different types of traffic that's going on. I think on PC, I've seen one advertised called Glasswire. There's some others that kind of break things out to see, so you can see that Photoshop is using this much traffic, and
Right.
Windows Update is doing this kind of traffic.
Like in the resource monitor, we've got this guy. So I don't know if this helps any.
Yeah, is that telling you what applications are doing the network?
We've got applications right over here.
Mm-hmm. Can you click on them and then it changes the graph on the side? No?
Yes.
Oh, it does?
So it adds them, see?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you'd have to figure out, you can't go back in time with those, I don't think.
No.
So you'd have to kind of have that in the background, so when you see a drop off, you can
The next time
play around and see which one stopped sending data.
Yeah, we lose data once a show every morning now. I start to yesterday or day before yesterday, Brian was on, and it was so bad that I just disappeared from the show. It completely dropped me. And if Brian hadn't been on as well, it would have been I would have lost the show, because since Brian was in here, it kept the show open for Brian.
Yeah.
So
you want to catch which one is the one that stopped.
Right. It looks like it's definitely service host is involved here.
So that's Windows.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 images of Chrome, though. Oh, well, that makes sense. I have actually a couple of browser windows open, but that shouldn't be. I've had no browser windows open. It's still dropped off.
Is the broadcaster like something that runs in a web browser, or is it an application?
It's a web browser, so that's why Chrome has to be tagged.
Okay, so is it running in Chrome?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you tried running in something like Firefox?
No, I have not. Mostly because its settings are set. But you're right. I could try a different browser and see if that helps.
Firefox does a little bit better job on memory management. Um, Not that it doesn't use more or less memory; it just is better at not getting jammed up and then having to like close all your browsers and restart them.
Right.
I've had that problem with Chrome where eventually, like my system would just sound like a jet because I had enough of them open for long enough, and then it would just get clogged up and shut down. So my solution was eventually switch to Firefox, and then also add an ad blocker system because some ads out there are crazy memory and CPU hogs. And if you leave a browser open, it'll just put one ad, and then that'll create a memory stack and process. And then it'll remove that ad, but the stack stays in place. And then it'll add another one, and another one, another one. Before you know it, the system's ready to go down.
I've been feeling like something is doing that very thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're getting like memory clogged up. Like the memory keeps coming up on stacks like this, but I feel like, like the other thing is like disk usage. I get weird disk usage problems. Like
spinny disk or SSD.
It's a spinning disk. It's an FDD.
So what you might want to eventually do is have your main disk be an SSD, and then have your spinning disk be just for all your storage, all your videos, your documents, Photoshop files.
That's the ultimate plan. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, because that's actually what the computer company that I usually take this to, a little computer repair place. That's what they suggested. And though I agree, I mean, my problem is that it is slowing down. The system is slowing down considerably. Like it's getting to the point now where we're at 120 seconds plus to load Photoshop. And that's a long time to wait. In the morning when I come in here, I start loading programs 10 minutes before show. And as Pepper knows, sometimes I don't even show up until a minute before show, because that's when finally OBS loaded and when finally I could get to Restream and get, Clip Studio Paint loaded. And these aren't things that tax my Surface. You know what I mean? My Surface 3. And I've got an ancient Surface that I use, and I can do all of that pretty quickly. So something is clogging the system. There's some program out there that is super clogging up my system, and I don't know what's going on.
If you want, I can help with all that before we move an hour away.
Well, yeah, and that might not be a bad plan. Or just some morning when we're on the show, or I can just call you when you're an hour away. It's not a big deal.
Like if you want to buy an SSD, I can help install the system, get files moved over, make sure you're set and reconfigured on a day you're not broadcasting, so we can get everything back to your standard, and then go from there.
That I might take you up on, because I don't mind these guys at this place, but they take my computer for a long time. And putting in an SSD and another 32 gig stack of RAM should only take about an hour, not 4 days.
Well, putting that all in there, probably 30 minutes. Getting everything installed and back to the way you want it, that could be like half a day.
Yeah, well,
because you have to download Photoshop and put all the things.
Windows is on there. Once Windows is on there, I can do all the rest of it.
Oh, okay.
I just need Windows on, because that's the one thing I don't. The world has changed quite a bit since the days when I was building computers and putting Windows on there. So, I mean, frankly, it would be easier for me to buy you a beer or whatever, and have you help me out with this one, or even pay you for it if you wanted. Then it would be
pepperoni pizza for munching. I'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, like
pepper. That's all I need.
Well, no. This is on how it's going to be if my husband's going to do this. You're going to join us this weekend. in Loveland.
Oh,
The straight ceilings.
popcorn.
Sadly, I already have a big project this weekend. This house has to return back to normal. It's been trashed by prepping for NDK. So I really cannot join you this weekend. I wish I could, because that would be the ideal situation, is bring my computer to you, we fix it, then go to Loveland.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be the ideal situation right there, because then,
Well, we have to go up multiple weekends, Guy.
I'm more available when, not this weekend, but I have already gotten the look from my wife on the no, don't plan anything this weekend look, because she's like, you've had something planned every day, and we literally cannot cross our living room right now, So she's like, I am done. We've got to fix this house and get the house back running again. So
Good pizza is all I need. We just need to plan a date. I can do it.
I wouldn't mind actually helping you with the Loveland house. So if you're doing it multiple weekends, that's a different story. If you
We're
need me
doing
this
it multiple
weekend,
weekends. Yeah.
then let's plan to do that next weekend, or the whatever is the next weekend or whatever, and I will help you some.
Gotcha.
That's much more reasonable. I can certainly do it.
Yeah, we're not gonna, and you can tell your wife we're not gonna put you on the makeshift, the makeshift skiv that we have to build to get the ceiling above the stairs.
Yeah, I can't do that anyway. I would fall over. I have vertigo. Isn't that nice?
I thought you were gonna say you have fear of heights.
I do. It's so bad I've got vertigo. So as soon as you put me up there, I go, whoa, the world's tilting, and then I fall off. I've always thought that that's like deer and freezing whenever a car comes at them. It's such a wonderfully anti-Darwinian trait to have. It's like, so we're going to put you really high up, and what you're going to do is lose your balance.
Well, what's super weird about all of that, like what you're talking about, is if you ever do one of those DNA test things, apparently fear of heights is a genetic trait.
That doesn't surprise me.
So after spending a whole weekend on a ladder, that transitioned into my dream state about my fear of heights. And I had this weird dream that we were hopping across like the top of buildings, like you might see in a superhero movie or something. And then we end up on this really narrow building, and Pepper just jumps onto a ladder and goes down. But all of a sudden, my fear of height triggers, and the top of the building just shrinks till I'm like curled up on top, just holding on for dear life on this like 8-story building. And eventually, the building like starts tipping over, collapsing.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. I've felt that. I feel that a lot. So.
And meanwhile, my husband has abandoned me and just
naturally. He just
First
leaves
of all-
you there to
First of all,
suffer.
in real life, to defend myself, normally when stuff like that happens to him, I don't realize it until like way after the fact. And it's only been one time that he's fallen on ice, and I just continued walking, and I could not hear him.
Right. But he will let you remember that forever.
Oh, of course. Of course.
You keep coming over here to get scritches. Come here. George, if you want scritches, you have to actually, like, not do what you're doing. Okay, whatever. I'm sitting there going, stupid cat, if you want to be picked up, you need to let me back up my chair. And then he's like, maybe I don't want to be picked up. And I can sort of sense that. He's like, maybe it was intentional. Maybe it was Maybelline.
Maybe.
Right? See, you can't stop saying that. Just happens.
It's funny, I was listening to a couple different songs while we're driving back and forth from Loveland. And a lot of them are quoting like these different product lines that were popular when we were growing up.
Vidal Sassoon.
Vidal Sassoon like being one of them, and I'm like, is this even going to be relevant for like kids that we're going to raise? Like, are some of these even still around anymore?
I keep thinking about like what my kid watches. He doesn't really watch TV. So they've got like we all had sort of a combined culture because, we're all sitting here singing jingles from commercials and stuff. And of course, he's not. He's not watching those commercials. He's not watching. But then I thought, well, I guess he's watching some commercials from YouTube or whatever. But it's still, I've been wondering, how are they going to have their shared culture? What will be their shared culture? I'm not worried about it. But I mean, like, Brent's got a daughter who's the same age as my kid. So 30 years from now, when they're talking to each other, what are they going to talk about? Like, what will be their shared culture? Will they be talking about that YouTuber, that influencer who they all seem to be watching these days? Will they all be making jokes about that? What will be their shared universe?
Would they be like wondering why the original guy from Blue's Clues, who should be super old but looked super young, say the message that he did in 2021? I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
yeah, I have no idea what that message was, but
so basically, Steve, the original Blue's Clues host.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, I'm too old to have grown up watching Blue's Clues as one of my first founding shows.
And actually, neither, I don't think my kid nor Brent's kid watched Blue's
Well,
Clues.
no, because so after Steve became Joe, and then after Joe became Chris, I think. So they're on their third host for the show.
Okay.
The reason why I know about it is I had younger siblings.
Sure.
Who were of age to watch it. Yeah. So I got to hear him go, the male song and celebrate Salt and Pepper having a baby named Paprika and all of this other stuff.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was funny. They had another kid, and I believe it was Garlic. But like the show itself was one of those things of I never really thought about it before, but like I would watch it with my cousin, my younger siblings, and stuff like that. And Steve basically addressed the adults that are going through everything right now through that, and it was just it's one of those things of like I never really thought about it, but I watched the show even though it wasn't of my age. So when you're talking about your kid, like wondering like what he would be talking about, there's a lot of things that he could possibly talk about today that you would never have thought of.
Sure. That's really what I'm. It's weird when you're a parent because some things you do because you're like, oh no, I'm worried that my kid will do X, Y, or Z. And then some things you're like, I wonder what my kid will do. This isn't going to hurt him. It's not gonna, there's nothing, there's no threat that I need to protect my child from. I'm just curious, and this is one of them. I don't think there's a threat here. There's no threat here. I'm just curious. We all come from the same generation-ish, give or take, of television. And really, legitimately, it looks like that era is over. And the new era of streaming has arrived where you just watch your show. You don't have to watch the commercials around it. You don't have to, like, I watched a ton of Carol Burnett and Johnny Carson, not because I wanted to watch them, although I did enjoy them quite a bit, but I watched it because it was on either side of Star Trek at night. And so I would watch Star Trek at night, and Johnny Carson was in front of Star Trek for a while here on Channel 2. And then they've switched over to Carol Burnett being in front of it for a while. And, you know, this is the 80s, so it was before TNG.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's a shared culture that I have with, say, boomers. You know, boomers, Johnny Carson and Carol Burnett were a big part of their culture. In you know, and so it's one of those things that allows me to connect with boomers. Now I'm watching, and there we go. Turning the camera because I realize that we're starting to tilt. Now I'm wondering, you know, what will be the connective tissue between Gen Xers and Gen Zers? And I'm like, I'm just curious. What will be the thing that will make... I always surprised boomers by knowing about, you know, Tim Conway and all of the other people on Carol Burnett, or talking about the time that they had the chimpanzee on Johnny Carson, or making jokes about, you know, going to the Slauson cutoff and get out of the car and cut off your Slauson till you get to the fork in the road, which were all jokes from Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the Dolly Parton episode, I am still amazed that Carson got away with the jokes that he did.
I'm kind of wondering, and I think you're going through what I wonder how it's going to be right now. Because I feel like generations before, so like our parents having to relate to their parents,
yeah,
there wasn't a whole lot of difference in the world. Like,
right,
your form of entertainment was books, and society may have been different, and there may have been different social issues. But outside of that, interacting in the world didn't change that much. It's not until like 70s, 80s, 90s where we just ramped through this new technological age that we grew through, but this age of kids are being raised in that is so far diverged from what our childhood was like versus theirs.
Yep.
And so, like, how is that going to work out? I think you're going through that now, and we will have to go through that. But, like,
oh, yeah.
I don't... Maybe the industrial age is when that last occurred with the difference in generations, perhaps?
Yeah, because we would go through a shift of everybody sitting around the table singing songs and telling stories, to when Gutenberg came around, everybody sitting around the table and reading books. That would have been a shift. We still had storytelling and stuff like that until books were so common, you know, probably the Industrial Revolution.
The other thing that changed it was when people started listening to radio programs.
Right? We would get a shift to the radio kids.
Yeah.
But that's, again, you've got what Bill's saying is absolutely legit. Yeah. You've got literally hundreds of years. You know, we've got hundreds of years from the Gutenberg to radio. And you've got thousands of years prior to Gutenberg where every generation was doing the exact same thing as the previous generation. And so there was no difference. You wouldn't have the old guy sitting around going, when I was your age, we didn't do that, you know, because they did.
I think though, I will say that we are probably part of the last generations to actually have grandparents that did that.
Yep.
Because, like, I love my grandmother in Rhode Island. She's like my last grandparent.
Last grandparent standing.
Yeah, so she's, and you know, she does do that occasionally.
Sure.
But she doesn't do it as often as when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things of, she only does it when she needs to now. Like,
that's fair.
You know,
But you're right. I think you're absolutely spot on. We have already gone through enough shifts and changes that we no longer say when I was your age, because we're no longer shocked by
right?
the changes in the culture. It's
Yeah,
moving so fast and has moved so fast. I mean, my grandfather was born in 1912. I mean, so he literally grew up with his parents saying, this newfangled radio thing you've got,
yeah,
and lived through television, movies, all of that stuff didn't exist when he was born. Airplanes were barely flying. My great grandmother was born in the 1890s, and she and I had long discussions because in her lifetime, she died when I was 21. So I was actually able to have adult conversations with her. I mean, adult level, not, we weren't talking about sex or whatever, but we were talking about adult
oh,
level.
that's my family.
Yep, I know. I have stories. I'll have to tell you. But we we had actual like real conversations about the fact that she in her lifetime went from horse and buggy through radio, telephone, movies, airplanes to rockets to landing on the moon.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And like she passed away in the 90s.
yeah,
And so, she was really close to being a centurion or whatever they call them, a centurion.
yeah,
But I mean, she had a television set. She watched TV. She had her TV shows she watched.
yeah,
And she when she was born on a dirt floor. Like the world has shifted. Even the poorest of us now still are born in a hospital.
You're lucky at that. Like there are.
Yeah,
still...
I mean, like it's getting to the point now where even the poorest of us can choose to be born in a hospital.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's people who choose to midwife and stuff like that. But I'm saying, if you're a poor unwed teenage mom and you can just walk into a hospital and deliver the baby, and they will do that for you. So, I mean, the culture has changed. The culture has changed a whole lot, and it's dramatic since the 1890s, how dramatically we've changed.
Right.
And you're right. I think you're right that none of us are going to sit there and go, when I was your age, with anything other than to say, look, balance your life out a little bit. Because that's what I do with my kid. It's really, yes, I watched TV way too much.
Yeah.
And really honestly wish I had read more books. So
I mean,
you can't watch YouTube when you're lying in bed anymore, going to sleep at night, because it's not good for your brain. It's not good for your eyes. Read a book,
Yeah, I think the most telling of it was I was talking to this waitress up in Loveland. We stopped to get something to eat, and I was wearing a Scooby Doo shirt, and she's a Scooby Doo fan, and so she made a comment, and it was just like, and I started getting into the streaming service that Boomerang went to. So they went from a network on TV to a streaming service and took the network off television. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, they have pretty much every single show that ever was created of Scooby-Doo. And I just started naming them. And I was like, these are all Saturday morning cartoons that I grew up with. And she was like, she looked at me funny a little. And I was like, and then I was like, I'm almost 40.
Right. How old are you?
She was I think she was in her early 20s.
Like in
deal.
our day, you had to wait for one day to get your cartoons.
Yeah, that was my version of back in my day. You only got cartoons on one day a week. And the early version of Cartoon Network was on TNT.
Right.
and you only got specific shows. So before Dexter's Laboratory, before Powerpuff Girls, before Johnny Bravo, before Cow and Chicken, before all of those shows, they would air old Hanna-Barbera cartoon shows.
Yep.
And that's where I saw like Mortis the Tortoise,
Right.
Quick Draw McGraw, Snagglepuss. All of them were on there, and people people forget like they all came out like in the 70s too. So it's like these aren't new shows. They just like in the 80s they try to do an update on a lot of them. Late 80s, no, Hanna-Barbera I think went out of business like making these cartoons. Like you had, and I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, they have the Flintstone Kids, they have Yo Yogi, which these are the failed 1980s TV series.
Yep.
Most people, most kids that today do not know about Scrappy Doo at all, and there are
Did they just retire Scrappy? Was that the whole thing?
Well, the character itself is not bad. The foundation was good. The problem was how they played it. Basically, Scrappy was fearless, and his uncle was a coward, and he always portrayed Scooby as something he wasn't. A lot of people were turned off by it from that. A lot of people were turned off by the fact that the very first time he appears, he has a Brooklyn accent, and then it goes away the very next episode. Like there's a lot of things wrong with Scrappy.
Fair.
Scrappy Doo. The other problem was they were trying to go to a demographic that wasn't theirs. Like Scooby Doo had a demographic that worked across all of them. We didn't need Scrappy Doo.
Right.
That's like in Mystery Incorporated, the updated Scooby Doo version. Like if you took Twin Peaks and meshed it with Scooby Doo, like that, like they make a mention of Scrappy and they say we don't want to speak of what happened again, and they're looking at a statue of Scrappy Doo.
Wow.
So, yeah, but that also leads back to
something bad happened to Scrappy. Gotcha.
Yeah, and but that also leads me to what I was trying to say before with what I would want to see in Star Trek. And you take like Flintstones, the Stone Age technology of Flintstones, and add it to Star Trek, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole entire show is about this new planet that they found, which is home to like this very specific animal that goes in and out of space through their atmosphere and can go at light speed. And so that's on how they joined the Federation, is through this animal that breeds out in space and comes back and lives down on the planet. And so their containers for like everything are strapped to the back of one of these animals that have been tamed. And then they go into outer space in them.
Okay. That's fair.
I think it would be a very good Star Trek series. I don't know. It would be
a fun Star Trek series.
Like, it would be, like, we've seen a whole bunch of other types of technology on Star Trek. Why couldn't we just revert it to Stone Age?
Right. So
sorry, I was trying to get something that was a little bit more interesting for you.
There you go. I liked it. I like that idea. I actually have spacefaring life forms in Bellatrix Rising, but they're not warp capable.
Well, I was thinking, like, instead of, like, the normal manta ray, it would be, like, one of those, like, we would discover later on that, like, these things, like, feast on star energy or something like that. Basically, they go out into space to have their kids because there's, like, a certain type of radiation.
Yep. That's actually what the Volmar feed on. And they're somewhat manta ray-esque, too. I think we're thinking on the same lines.
Well, I don't know if I would want mine as a manta ray or like a hybrid between a manta ray and a type of pterodactyl or pterodactyl something
Could be.
along those.
You know, it could be is more logically might be a jellyfish.
That could work, and they existed back in
Mhm.
the day. Their evolution has not really gone far.
Yeah. Huh. Something to think about. So, yeah, that's kind of cool. We got 9 minutes left in the show, which is actually really cool. So, what's your plan for next week?
So I'm trying to get the stuff that I need to get done right now for MetaZoo done. I only have four assignments that I need to get done,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working on one right now. The last one isn't due until the 15th, but on the 15th, I also have an 8-page comic that's due for an anthology.
Gotcha.
So that one, I've gotten page 2. I have page 3 right now. I'm not drawing them. I just want to say I wrote the comic and I'm coloring the comic, but I am not lettering or drawing it.
That's an interesting combo.
So so I'm waiting on my partner in this is in Canada, so I have to wait for him to finish up his work. He has 5 pages to do by Monday, so I need to be like once Monday hits and I get them, I have to print them all out, paint them, and then send them off to the anthology guy, like the contact for the anthology guy for that. So it's going to be a busy week. I try to get people to help my husband. No go for a lot of people, so I'm going to
No,
have
like
to
I
get
said,
a
you
bit
got
help.
me in 2 weeks. I can help you in 2 weeks.
Well, I need people this week.
Yeah, well,
I
nothing I can
know.
do about that.
I know. Well, I mean,
I'll have to move in.
I will gladly take people's kids if they are willing to part with them for the weekend to help. But honestly, I think parents would be like, "What are you doing?" And once I tell them, no, that it will be a no.
No,
Because
but
I'll
I
probably
might
be
bring
like,
my kid. I might bring my kid up to help you. He's not much of a help, but he's a little bit of a help.
well, I mean, we're gonna need people that we get to use a shop vac. You
Yeah, he
know,
might actually like that.
there's also the spray bottles that we have to use.
Yeah.
So there's that. So like there's a lot of stuff we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may find it fascinating because we didn't realize this that when you paint over popcorn ceilings with latex paint, so you paint over it, but then if you try to take it down and you've wetted the underside of it, the latex paint just starts coming down like a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so he may find that very fun. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There could be all kinds of stuff he'd be interested in. We'll have to see.
So what are your plans for next week?
Okay. Well, I know that I have at least one Earth Tau card that needs to be done, but I don't have the information on it yet. So it's in the wings waiting. And that's at least one. There are probably more because they're pushing to finish the set. And so they want me to do one more at least, if not more. So that's plausibly what I'm doing next week. If nothing else, though, I'm setting up for Silver Pentacle 2. So it's time to start putting together all the artwork pieces for Silver Pentacle 2. And then that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of doing deck plans and things like that this week, because I'm wrapping the week up with just honeydew projects that are left on Bellatrix Rising, so that we can get prepped and ready to go, so that when I'm clear from the commissions, I can get back to Bellatrix Rising hardcore. So
Cool.
But that's where we are. Is next week we're going to start commission work, whether it be Earth Tau or whether it be for Silver Pentacle and Airship 27.
Okay.
But it's getting time. The author of Silver Pentacle 2 is almost done with Silver Pentacle 3. She is just a writing machine. So she'll be sending that to be edited very soon. And I'll end up with that one in my shop. And I don't want to have 2 of them in my shop. So I want to clear 2 before 3 ends up in my shop. So I'm getting kind of antsy about this. I already have the script for 2, or the book, and all I have to do is just read it. Another thing I'm hoping to do this weekend is just read that book and just get it done, get her done, print all of it out. Maybe, I don't know. I may not print it all out. That seems ridiculous. But if I print it all out, then I can write on it and make notes and highlight things. I actually was kind of thinking about that from the last time, that I should have printed it out, because if I'd printed it out, I can highlight sections of it where it says, X character is dressed this way. I can highlight that section and then say, remember that she's dressed like this, because there were a couple of times where I did the piece and it went to the author, and the author came back and said, but she's not wearing that kind of dress. She's wearing a different kind of dress. And I'd be like, well, crap. Okay. So I have to scrap the picture and start over again.
Yes.
So, but it's all good. I get to get more into chaos again, which is always fun. Nothing like a little bit of chaotic painting to get your life rolling correctly. So,
yeah, that is a motto.
Yes. I also am hoping to have a couple of these sets set up during the next week so that I can at least start doing short stories inside rooms and things like that, kind of deciding how the layout of things are, get kind of a concept of what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
So that's another thing I kind of want done. We'll have to see how that goes. So next week's busy, but at least I don't have NDK anymore. So the other really big thing for next week is the standing desks, because my back is killing me. And until I can get to the standing desks, really, I cannot address the mess that's over here, and the fact that my cat is already trying to get behind there. Oh boy. I feel like if he gets back there, he'll get stuck back there. Oh well. I may have to rescue my cat in a bit. We'll have to see.
Well,
yeah, I intentionally made it difficult for you to get back there for a reason, George. Goober.
Well, he's a cat. You're a human.
Right?
Oh, and Bill just gave me the 1 minute warning. So
We got 1 minute.
All right.
So anyway, what are you doing next week? You got still this project that's up there?
Yep. Yeah, I'm just trying
gonna
to
keep with
wrap
that project.
everything up. I need to just wrap everything up. Wrap everything up for the anthology. Once I get all of those stuff done, we have the big move coming, so I'm going to be packing.
Fair.
I have commissions that I have to get done too, and I have to send out. I got my PO box fixed, so I'm going to be sending out my first round of commissions that I have been delayed because I've been waiting for the PO box.
Right. Fair.
So, but yeah, that's it. Bye, everyone.
Yep. And I guess that's it for all of us, because I will see you next week then. Are you up for joining me Wednesday?
I will let you know.
If you don't, I will just continue on. I just, it's good for you. It's healthy.
Yes. Let me.
So that's all. There's no other stressor other than it's healthy for you to do this.
All right. Well, I will let you know. All right.
I don't know if you're interested, but on Tuesday nights we meet at a Starbucks way up here.
My husband's meeting already started.
Okay, we will leave. I will talk to you later.
Talk to you
For
later.
everybody else, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye.
That makes sense. I always think
Computer, good night.